Did Gourdy go through childhood trauma? Were his parents erased from his memories, or did they disappear a long time ago? All these questions point to one of the biggest theories that are currently surrounding the main Toon from the Dandy's World Halloween update, Gourdy. I did my homework and went through countless discussions to collect all the theories people have about what might have happened to him. Sit back and relax. This is Gourdy. The most popular theory, and the one that can also be strongly supported by in-game stuff, is Gourdy forgetting something, most likely his parents. In the Halloween map, you can find Gourdy's own room, which is covered in childlike sketches and ichor writing all over the walls. Phrases like, "Don't forget and remember," are repeated across the whole wall, and all the way on the left it reads, "Why can't I remember their faces?" Some posters say things like, "No, not right," probably referring to the scribbled out faces. And there's one that shows a robe with the words, "She had it." That could mean Gourdy remembers small details, like that his mother wore something like this, but not enough to recall their faces. Then there's his trinket, the memory locket, which again follows the same theme. That's Gourdy with two other individuals. Players think that it's his parents he's trying to remember for a few reasons. First, Gourdy is a child. He's actually the second Toon to be a child in Dandy's world, with the first being Toodles. And when the twisted version is about to start roaming, he calls for his parents. And the second reason is that these figures have some similarities to Gourdy. Typically in Dandy's world, Toons are very different. You have V, who's a computer, Dandy is a flower, and Eclipse is a werewolf, and so on. The point is, you never see two Toons that look even remotely similar. But in these drawings, the figures have similar heads, and some of the posters suggest they're also plants, just like Gourdy. At the same time, it's pretty clear they were Toons too, since the official wiki confirms it. The base theory ends there. He doesn't remember his parents simply because people, or Toons in this case, do and can forget stuff. But there are other theories out there, ones that are even crazier, and a lot darker. We know that the Garden View Educational Center was a place for people of all ages to come and visit and see their favorite Toons. It's almost certain that most visitors were families with children. Gourdy might have seen all those happy kids with their parents, maybe even Toodles, the only other child Toon in Dandy's world, getting gifts and attention. And as we all know, children are very curious. So seeing all of this could have made Gourdy question why he doesn't have a family like everyone else around him. That might have made him start dreaming about having one, and since children can't always tell what's real and what isn't, Gourdy could have begun believing that his dream family was real. Although there isn't a lot to directly support this theory, there is one big clue that does. When you click on Gourdy's gossip about other Toons, there's one about Astro. Gourdy describes how he used to talk with Astro about one particular dream he had every night. And in that dream, there they were, his father and mother, and they felt so... Then Gourdy suddenly changes the topic without finishing the sentence. But I think the final word he was about to say was real. That in his dreams, his family felt so real. Some players even believe this obsession with having a family is what made him turn twisted. He kept trying over and over again to draw what he thought his mother and father looked like, or should have looked like. But every time, something was off. So he scribbled them out. What's interesting is that all the text on the walls and all the pictures are scribbled with ichor. When we go with the theory that ichor is what causes Toons to transform, he might have been manipulating and using ichor in a weird way for so long that it eventually made him twisted. After all, if you go back to the secret room on the Halloween floor, you can see a massive hole in the wall, and there's no way he could have done that in his normal form. Talking about manipulating ichor. There's also a theory that Gourdy knew ichor was what makes Toons who they are, so he tried to make himself a loving family. He drew his mother and father over and over again, then smeared ichor across their faces, thinking it would somehow bring them to life. As he grew more desperate, he started emphasizing details, like "this is what my mother wears," or "this is how the tail looks like." But nothing seemed to work, and he eventually turned twisted. Players who believe this theory think that Gourdy really did have parents at some point. He knew them, and he remembered their faces. But later, Delilah and Arthur got rid of them. After all, the Garden View Center is a business. It's made to make money. The founders may have thought that having an actual Toon family would be a great attraction, something people would love to see. But after a while, it turned out that no one actually cares that much, as his parents weren't anything special. And that does make sense since, as I already said, Toons are all unique, and having three that look so similar doesn't add much of anything to the table. If we follow the idea that Twisteds or Toons or both are made of ichor, then maybe Arthur, Delilah, or both might have decided to recycle them for their ichor and use it to create someone new. And there's also one small detail which I was made aware of, and that is that Gourdy has a slit through the pumpkin head. This could either be just a design choice. After all, Gourdy is a pumpkin, a carved one. But it might also mean something far more sinister. Maybe someone tinkered with his brain, trying to erase the memories of his parents. What if Gourdy found out he was supposed to have parents and got over-obsessive about that? We know that Arthur was the one designing the Toons, while Delilah was the one bringing them to life. The two often communicated through letters, and many of these letters have been preserved and still exist. We have seen Toon reference sheets, we've seen printed drafts, and also messages between the two discussing Toons and their behavior. So what if Gourdy stumbled upon some of these notes mentioning Mr. and Mrs. Holloway, the supposed parents Arthur and Delilah once planned to create, but in the end, decided not to? Imagine finding that when you're a child, realizing that you were meant to have a family, but someone chose to erase them before they ever existed. That could break anyone. And for Gourdy, it might have started a lifelong obsession. He tried to remember everything he saw. He tried not to forget. But memories fade, and even a wall screaming, "Don't forget," couldn't stop it. That's why the drawings in his room are smeared with ichor, because with every year that passed, he lost another piece of the picture. He started forgetting the little details, like what his mother was supposed to wear, or what his father looked like in the notes. But he could still feel that his drawings were off, and that's why he smudged ichor all over those parts. Before I end this video, I have to add one more minor theory. I don't personally believe this one that much, but it's out there. Maybe there actually weren't any parents to begin with, and Gourdy didn't hallucinate them either. He just misunderstood the situation. We know for certain that every main Toon had its own Toon handlers, but it's completely possible that every Toon had one, or even multiple. The handlers are usually dressed a bit like the Toon they care for, so maybe Gourdy had two handlers in costumes, so they looked similar to him. And since he was just a child, he mistook them for his parents, because that's what he saw every day from the families visiting Garden View. But when Garden View Center closed, the handlers were no longer needed, so they were fired, and never came back. And maybe that's when everything started to fall apart for Gourdy. He suddenly felt abandoned, and he couldn't understand why, so he tried to remember them the only way he could, through his drawings. But he slowly started forgetting. And that's the story of Gourdy. I am pretty sure we will learn a lot about Gourdy and his past in the upcoming updates. If you enjoyed this theory and want to see more deep dives like this one, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And I also want to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to share your theory down in the comments.